Hi guys, Zoe Gardner, who's a refugee human rights campaigner and broadcaster, delivered a perfect speech on why the Tories are trying to use immigration once again as a tool to win the next general election. Because they've failed everywhere else. She destroyed the narrative that somehow the Tories have found themselves in this situation. They've been in power for about 14 years and continue to use immigrants as a scapegoat. But while the government pretend to offer a solution, training up British people, Zoe destroys that argument too. Have a listen.
Sounds as if the government sort of tripped, fell, and ended up in a situation where our vital industries rely on migrant workers, and that simply isn't the case. So let me just break down a little bit what's happened here. We've had somebody who runs a care home, somebody who runs a farm, and somebody who works in higher education all come in and say that their industries are unsustainable without their reliance on migrant workers at the current time. And we have a government that's been in power for 13 years, and for 13 years has been telling us that, well, first of all, it was Brexit. And then after that, it was the fact that we ought to be training up our own people and investing in our own industries in order to displace the need for migrant workers. I mean, it's really odd because they've never done it. And that's why I say it's not an accident. It has been a deliberate choice to decide that we can underfund the care system in the UK. Now, I think I'm right about this. I think the government is in charge of paying, because it's a public sector employment, right? So the government is in charge of wages in the care sector, right? It's a deliberate choice to have underfunded that and to have created this visa category that is on the, and you bring people in on the shortest occupation list so that they can work at a lower rate of salary, tie them to their employers so that they're at risk of exploitation, and keep coming back year on year on year and saying, oh, no, but we should actually be training our own. Where's the evidence that you've tried to train our own? Where's the evidence that you've tried to invest in a care system that actually works and that is sustainable for the future? You haven't done it. You've had 13 years. The British public are sick of it. We depend on those migrants for the reasons of your failures. And it just isn't good enough for us to have the Prime Minister turn around today and say he's actually going to get tough on migration, as if nobody had thought of that one before. I'm sorry, but we're tired of it. We need a change. They should call a general election. They have failed on every measure.
Are you campaigning for the Labour Party?
No, not at all. I am not a member of any party. I'm just an ordinary British citizen who is tired of the fact that it's impossible to get a GP appointment, that it's impossible for anyone in my generation to think about buying their own home. And this is long-term underinvestment in all of our services by this government. And every time we hear from them, we hear about these complaints, that we hear, oh yeah, no, here's a new stick. We're going to bash some foreigners. And we're tired of.
So he's completely correct here, right on the money. It's not an accident. It has been Tory policy for some time, years, maybe even decades. This is an extension of outsourcing. There was a time when public sector workers were given decent pay and conditions. Now a lot are hired by agencies where their protections are much lower and a middleman is taking a massive cut out of their wages. There was a situation where agency staff nurses were being paid £40 an hour, but the nurse doing the work for the NHS was only seeing about a quarter of that. Many sectors, like Zoe said, are unsustainable if they can't access the workers they need. Jacob Rees-Mogg said in a video I uploaded this week that Britain should just import food instead of producing it. A massive U-turn on Brexit. But the core argument here is about training people up. But the Tories want business to pay for that, not the state. Because if the government had to, it would mean more public spending when the Tories want to bring it down. They want to cut it right to the bone. Immigrants are being demonised, yet they provide an essential service to society. Many were putting their lives on the line during the pandemic for crap wages and terrible working conditions. And now the Tories and their friends in the media want to blame them for the Tories' failures over the last 13 odd years. Migrants are there as doctors and nurses when we're brought into this world. They work in factories and farms producing the food we eat. They work in shops selling us the things that we need, and they are likely to be looking after us when we're in our old age. But right-wing governments want to use them as a scapegoat for their own failures. There's nothing wrong with training up the local population, but that isn't actually what the Conservatives want. They just want to blame others for their own failures. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.